Welcome, my fellow Coven of Toastmasters. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guest. Check out these teachers. I beg you to consider that as Toastmasters, we say the word mentor. It sort of means coach, but what we really are teachers. And that's something to remember. If you read each of these little signs, and it's hard to read, I give you that. These Toastmasters are telling us, me, as the student of speaking, what brought them to Toastmasters or what they love about it. What is so exciting to them about this experience of being a Toastmaster? And that's important. When you join, when you're here a long period of time, you're still wondering, what is my place within this? Where is my spot within this coven? Where do I fit? Well, we are students to begin with. We are mentees. And as we grow, we become mentors. We become the coaches. We become the teachers. Now, what's the difference between a coach and a teacher mentor? Well, I'm going to tell you. A coach is working on behalf of the team. So somebody's going to coach you. They're going to be telling you what you can do best to help the team succeed. Toastmasters does not work that way. Toastmasters, so remember this, especially if you're new. Toastmasters works in the style of, we are considering how to help you, us. We are the most important thing. You're not here to help me. You didn't start this process for Kyle. You started it for you. We started because we wanted support, help, guidance, and assistance towards being better speakers. This was me day one. I mean, not actually, I did this later in another speech, but that's how I felt inside. Carl and Tatiana were both my mentors. They were dual mentors. Ended up having that whole wonderful coven that was there being my mentors eventually. But this is what you're looking for as a student, and this is what you should expect from your mentor. You get lost with anything from pathways on down to you simply don't know what to say or how to say it. You find out, you yell for help, you want support, you want some advice, and you want some guidance and assistance, but not to be told what to say, because that's your personal thing. You're here for your own individual reason. So you want to know how to be the best you. On to me. I joined because I wrote this book. And it's a wonderful thing to write a book, except if you're terrified, like I was. You're terrified, and you have to speak about it. You have to do that. I was not able to do that without the assistance of this club. I needed the support, the advice, the guidance. I needed it desperately. This is how I felt. Anybody feel this when they start day one? A sense of dread, choking, rapid heartbeat, shaky, feeling faint, wobbly legs. I put a blanket, that's me speaking, I put a blanket over my head because that was the best way I could possibly give that speech. I just said, I can't do it. So I felt safer hiding. I felt safer hiding. Many of you may feel the same way, but I had that book that I had to present to people in order to fulfill my desire in the world to move on and be a public speaker and a writer. So I went to my mentors and said, help me to get rid of these terrors. And they did. Guess what it is? It's come back. Keep doing it. Do it more and more often. But do it with the purpose of your purpose. Don't give a speech that has nothing to do with you. Don't give a speech on a topic you despise. Give it on something that you personally are very involved with, that means something to you. What Julie just talked about today was important to her, and frankly, it touched each and every one of us. I wrote stuff down, I've got those numbers. I do have people that I'm thinking about. So that's something that she brought to us. She's taught us today, so we were all her students. help, support, advice, guidance, or even half crazy here. Come on, look at that. This is us on Special Hat Day. The Toastmasters of the day have the right to choose whatever the heck the topic is, and we pretty much go along with the program. But that's what happens in the real world. You kind of have to be resilient and go along with the program of whatever's happening in the world. Best thing to do is roll with it, isn't it? Exactly. You need your help, your support, your advice, and your guidance. Guess what? I'm a professional speaker now. I'm selling Tilly Lewis like there's no tomorrow, and I'm moving on to my next book. I'm now invited to different groups outside of Toastmasters, and I'm here, just this morning I got an email from someone who's pretty famous here in town that's invited me to a club to go to that said, specifically, we want you. And it's not for any other reason than he found me. He actually said, you don't say a single or didn't say lip smack, basically, but any kind of
Lip smack.
right. Any or lip smack that's inappropriate. That impressed them. And this is us enjoying our coven, because that's what we do. We are a place to come and enjoy one another, to learn to speak better, to learn to listen better, to be teachers, to be students. Mr. Toastmaster.
Cal's speech was awesome, and the purpose of his speech was for you to clearly define how Toastmasters envisions mentoring and to share some aspect of the previous of a previous experience as a protege. I feel like you achieved both of those. You talked about your previous experiences and you clearly hit both goals. You also asked me to talk about your smile, your facial expressions, and to know whether you were keeping the audience engaged throughout the whole speech. And so I'll talk about those. I will go through what you excelled at, what I feel maybe you could work on, and a challenge for your next speech. So, talking about what you excelled at, your PowerPoints were awesome. Your pictures really drew us in, and there were not too many words. There were familiar pictures that you've been come to any of these meetings, you saw people you knew. I thought those were very awesome. Even pictures, if you have not been to a meeting before, we saw you in the picture, so we see you there, we see you on the stage with your book, and we learned more about you through your speech as well. I thought that aspect was very good. And weaving in your own personal experiences of how you came up through Toastmasters. I've only seen you here as a senior member, so I can't imagine your first speech. But talking about that experience as someone who has had trouble, has had to grow and learn as a speaker is very encouraging, I think, for the newer members. So that was, you weren't just born a master speaker 20 speeches in or hundreds of speeches into your Toastmasters career. So that was interesting to see. This is the trouble I have of finding things to say that you should work on, because frankly, I would like to say I didn't see anything. So I'm always digging, and even these things, I don't know. You could easily take them or leave them. Going back to pictures in your presentation, that was a plus. One thing I think you should be cognizant of, and I think it worked great. Your first picture was so great that it drew me in. And I found myself looking at it, and then I came back to listening to you. I can't really do two things at one time. But your speech was good enough that I could jump back in, and I wasn't like, what whole important piece did I miss? So I just say that is to be cognizant of when you have really, really great pictures, they may draw in the audience, and especially the first picture where there were like little signs where you could read the little things that they were saying, that if you're going to put that, I think it's totally fine to put that, just make sure it's at a part of the speech where you're okay if the audience goes from you to them and then you come back. I think you did it. I'm just saying to be cognizant of it. You also asked me to look at your smile. I thought your facial expressions were appropriate. However, you may not have smiled as much as you wanted to smile. I think you started smiling, your face went appropriate to the topic and it was straight, and then at the end you kind of ended with a smile. So maybe you look at the video. I don't know if you smiled as much as you wanted to. You smiled enough for me, so I will say for me that's a plus. And then finally, at the end, there was like an errant bell, and this is like a challenge. I think that was a good thing though. I can see how it just, because normally you don't hear bells in the prepared speeches, and then you kind of stop for a second. But I think at your level, it was great. You kind of jumped out and then jumped back in, and you were right there. And I would say as a challenge, I mean, it may be good for maybe more bells, so that, because in real life, you're going to have people to a door might close, or things might happen when you're giving a speech outside of this setting. So I think it's actually good to prepare for those eventualities. That is all. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.